Hello.
Hello.
Okay. Hey, Blue Guardians. I'm here with Andy Clark today of 911 Lifestyle with Andy Clark. Is that right? Did I
Yes.
get it right?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been watching Andy for the last year or so, actually, and just looking at her posts, noticing the lots resonated with me. There were lots about police and the stress of being a police officer and all the hurdles and the challenges that officers face. Obviously, being ex-police myself, my husband's still in the job, being a veteran, husband a veteran, all of these things. And the reason I'm doing Blue Guardians is very relevant. And there was something about Andy that I liked. I really did. I liked everything that you posted. It was really informative, straight down the line, no messing about, helpful, really helpful, straight to the heart of things. I loved it. So after a lot of conversations and a little back and forth, we finally decided to have a chat. So all the way from across the pond, from a long way away, Andy, would you like to explain to the Blue Guardians exactly what you do and and why you do it?
Sure. So to start off, I am from Canada, from Toronto, Canada. My husband is a Toronto police officer, so they are 5,000 sworn officers. Plus, I actually don't know how many civilians that they have working as well in their service. So it's quite a large service that they have. So he has been an officer for 12 years now, I believe. So, going through all the stages of everything of life with an officer when it's the two of you, then life with kids, which absolutely changes everything, the family guilt, all of those things that happen, always having plan Bs and all of that. It's been quite a journey, but what I do is I help first responders with their physical stress system. I don't do anything on the mental aspect side. And what I'm finding, though, is that I am a very big missing piece of the puzzle, because what you guys are always talking about the traumas, and the traumas absolutely affect you. But what is not talked about is 12, 24-hour shifts, 48-hour shifts, OT, the family guilt that happens.
Yeah.
And all of the other stressors of your job. We have admin stress is a big one that we talk about a lot. And all of these things affect you, that anytime just going to your job, your stress system kicks in. And when your stress system is kicked in, when you're in a heightened stress state all of the time, nutrition and exercise are not, you need more. There's a lot more than you need when your stress system is being pounded and pounded. So I kind of relate it to, you guys need to be running, like pushing yourself like a Formula One race car, whereas civilians can run themselves like a family car, like that minivan, or, that's all they need to maintain as. But you need to maintain your stress system so that you can push during crisis, during OT, during COVID. Over there, you guys had all those fires happening. You need to be able to push for that Indy race. And be able to have all your spark plugs, timing belt, your battery, everything, your tires need to be in top shape so that you can maintain yourself for the duration of the race. You know what to do during that race, during those long periods of crisis, to maintain your stress system, and how to then repair yourself so you can kick butt in your next race.
Are you
So
into car racing, Andy? Is this your
I
thing?
am not, but it's funny because our bodies, though, are just like a car. And I find that that's just really the best as to what
It is.
is.
It's a
I crack
very
jokes
good. It's good.
all the
It's very
time. I'm
good.
like, look, you're doing a left turn, another left turn. No, I'll pretty much crack jokes at it. And if I do the wrong analogy for anything with a car, you guys can laugh at me, correct me, help me fix it. Totally fine.
Nothing
But
wrong with it. It works. It's
yeah.
good.
So the
Mm.
interesting thing is that in a car, when your battery light comes on, that's your signal. The thing is in our body is our stress management system manages 50 different hormones. So it manages our sleeping, our waking mid-sleep, our energies. It manages our moods, our cognitive behaviors, our sexual our like libido, our fertility. It does your thyroid, it does your blood pressure, cholesterol, your gallbladder, every single organ, your digestion. So the
Yes.
thing is that when that engine light comes on in our body and gives us these signals, we may go to our doctor for sleep. We may go to our doctor for gut issues, for constipation, for diarrhea, for like major gut issues, for gallbladder. There's actually studies with nurses where they have a huge rate of gallbladder issues, but it's all related to the stress and the gut, and everything is all intertwined and related. Going from 0 to 100, that hypervigilance that you can't shut off, anger, short fuse, easily frustrated, things that never used to bother you earlier in your career and all of a sudden start easing up. And all of these things are actually physical stress.
Yes.
Stress signals as well. And we don't always relate them because they happen in different times and different rates and different intensities in people based on so many factors, external factors, what's going on internally in body, what's going on in your life, all kinds of different things. So quite often they're not related to one another. So that was long-winded.
It's a good thing to bring that up, actually. We, for Blue Guardians, we're very much in the mental health space.
Yes.
I educate, I run educational events to highlight what PTSD might look like in your partner, what trauma, how it affects your brain, how it affects your body, anxiety, and we cover all the things you mentioned, as in, you know, your sleep would be, you may have nightmares, you know, sleep not as good, tired, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But like you say, the mental health side obviously is imperative to address, to combat, to promote, to support, absolutely. However, the one thing that we always kind of mention but don't really deal with is the physical symptoms. Yeah. I've got to say, my husband is sick again. He's got another cold, flu, not COVID, anybody. No. but he's run down again. And for this last probably 2 years, 18 months, it's just been, you know, he's carried on. He doesn't take holidays, but it's just
never, you push through.
Again, he's ill again. And I think, oh my goodness. And it is the constant stress of a first responder's job.
Just the day-to-day.
Yes. And then shift patterns, night shifts, you know, run down, not eating quite well, lack of sleep, obviously, all of it. It's all roll on and roll on.
And the thing with this as well is, as you're saying, so you have allergies. So people who may not have had food allergies all of a sudden do, or they're getting skin issues, edema, psoriasis, they're getting rashes.
Yes.
They're getting, and then we talk about nagging injuries, low motivation. So everybody who goes into this field, first responder, military, is usually a beast. They're usually pretty athletic. They're usually physically on top of their game.
Yes.
And as you're going through your career, either injuries start taking you out, or you start struggling to push in your workouts, and or you get angrier after your workouts. You find out a few days later, instead of it relieving your stress, you're nagging injuries, or you're getting shorter with your family. It's not relieving the stress, and then all of a sudden, like, you can't even
I hope he's watching right now.
Yeah. And you're like, and you're sitting there and you're thinking, but my mind wants to go. My mind wants that rush. My mind wants that adrenaline, that cortisol rush again. Like, that's me. That's who I am. I am this person who pushes like a Formula race car. And now I can't even friggin' run a family car.
What's my problem? And is it old age already? God, I can't believe I feel so old already. But they still carry on.
And that's the thing. So as age goes too. So the one thing I didn't mention is actually why I got into this is, so I struggled with this through my entire life, actually. I had a huge burnout crash in my early 20s, and then one when I was 39 and pregnant with my second child. And we discovered finally after that, I'd been going to doctors and specialists and saying, like, I'm exhausted. My background is training high athletes and high-end executives that push themselves in stress. That's my background. 14 years of that, I couldn't work out. It's like these officers that are fit, active, it's your life, and you can't friggin' work out. I felt like a fraud because I couldn't be who really I knew that my person was, is kicking butt in workouts and being strong and being active. And I couldn't. All I did was sit on the couch. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. I didn't want to participate with things with my kids. And finally, it was traced that I have a genetic condition where I am always in a heightened stress state. I always have extra stress hormones floating around, the same as a wonder. So going through all that, that explains why, as healthy as my nutrition was, as much as my workout was, why it didn't work for me and why it doesn't work for you guys. And so we reversed mine once we figured out lots of trial and error. Like there are some people that say, hey, I can help, and they messed me up even more. Eventually found the right people with all of the steps that we can go into today that are needed when you're in a stress state.
Yes.
We got that, we figured it out. And then I started refining what I learned from my husband's shift schedule, and holy crap, it took years. It took years to be able to work all of this stuff into the shifts, into the overtime, into all the plan Bs that popped up. He'd be shifting. Sometimes he was on bicycles. So riding a bicycle for 12 hours that he didn't have the same, he couldn't pack food. He couldn't, like, all this stuff. There was so many different things, and foot pursuits. And then he was on like special courses, and he was in so many different like divisions, and there's so much lateral movement that's able to do here with 5,000 officers. So I had to keep adjusting it and changing it. So we eventually figured that out. And then we started talking to colleagues, and I'll probably cry. The two guys that were sitting beside my husband in police college, one's not here anymore. It was a trauma that happened on the job. And he sought all of the PTSD treatment possible.
Yeah.
I can't 100% say that what I do fixed him, because we can't go back and we can't change things. But from what I heard, it was his gut. It was everything inside him. He was having bleeding ulcers. His whole insides were just, he couldn't leave his house. And we deal with officers. Like I have officers now that have to sometimes leave shift. They bring second pairs of clothes to work because their digestive systems are so off. Because they have to go and stay in a bathroom. Like it gets extreme when you're at extreme parts of where your stress system is so taxed. And then the guy that's on the other side is a really good friend, and he ended up divorcing, and we didn't think that they would be that couple, but he was that athletic guy. Like he was the athletic specimen. Football, hockey, high level, playing all the time on these teams. And it got to the point where he couldn't anymore. He couldn't even go for a run. It was just, his body just couldn't do it anymore. And he was getting angry and short fused and not motivated and not helping out at home. And then they had a child, and that's one stressor that adds in. As much as it's a good stress, the sleep changes, the guilt changes, you're trying to help out. There's so many different factors. And they divorced. And so I actually started helping him first. He was like, just what can I do to sleep? So we started working on his sleep. He's like, holy crap, I haven't slept like this in years. And then he's like, okay, what do I do for the anger? What do I do for the short fuse? How do I stop going from like 0 to 100 in 2 seconds? And we started working on it. And then I started helping other colleagues of my husband's. And that's where it spread to now I work with North America, UK, and Australia. Because this aspect is so needed. And I didn't touch PTSD in the beginning because I didn't think that like it was so different. But what I've realized is now that those who are struggling with their therapies, EMDR, I had a guy that tried EMDR, but he couldn't. And when COVID started, he was having flashbacks every 3 to 4 minutes. And we started strengthening his stress system. And in a month, he got down to 2 to 3 times a day, and he was getting himself out of those flashbacks, catastrophic thoughts in 2 to 3 minutes. Once his stress system could handle it, once he was starting to sleep, once he was able to calm down. And now he's gone back to his PTSD treatments, and once he can be like one-on-one with somebody, he's going back to EMDR to try it.
Okay,
and
yeah.
now he's successful in his PTSD treatments. I have ones that were struggling with therapies, because when your brain's so foggy, when you can't talk, when you're not motivated, it's hard to process and talk and deal with those things. So we strengthen it, and then you can kick butt in those other treatments.
Before we go on to hear about exactly how you do this, and I really can't wait, actually, this sounds so exciting. What do the organizations do to support their police or to support their first responders? How is it generally seen over there for you?
Just with their own wellness units?
Yes. Yeah.
So the thing is the way that I look at this is that usually the people that are running the wellness program are quite often officers that have an interest in health and wellness, but they're also officers on the road. So they already have a full-time job. They don't have time to be digging into all the newest research, what's all happening, all of like your hormones, your nervous system, your digestion. And then they also, I find that there's also another disconnect, and I say this to my husband, that I don't fault the people that they're bringing on, but the people they're bringing on don't understand. So, because before I started this, before I really started learning what my system needed in a higher stress state, I would have, as a nutrition and training coach for 25 years, I would have absolutely done what they do, where I go in and I'm like teaching them about healthy eating and teaching them to exercise and doing all of these things. So it's not that, I think they're trying and they're doing what they are trying to do with the best of their abilities.
Yeah.
But the thing is that quite often the people that are running the programs are the ones that have not been through the worst of the worst and have not gotten themselves out of it, and they didn't realize what it all took. So there's multiple layers to it. There's different solutions. So I'm finding in the States, like in Kentucky, there is, I have a video, I'm not sure if I've passed it on to you, about a gentleman a lieutenant, had PTSD, and he started really digging into this program now, where they deal with PTSD, moral fatigue, moral injury, and compassion fatigue. And they also, and his program is amazing, like such a good success rate, but they're dealing with so many different facets, and and they actually have officers in the program that have been through the program successfully that are helping the ones coming in.
Fantastic. Yes, I've send that to me. If you haven't already, send it to me.
Absolutely.
So in Australia, just as an example, in Australia, I 100%, obviously my husband's a police officer. I think WO police are doing the very, very best that they can. They've really had a shake up with the health welfare system, and they've got a new website out for the families because they were feeling not connected. How can they help their partners if they can't have access to the information? So that's been a step forward. They are trying. However, at present, the officers, not all the officers, but there's an overall feel of a lack of trust with the police, with the whole system and health and welfare. They think their careers could be in jeopardy if they put their hand up to say, I'm struggling, I need help here. And the confidentiality, they just think, I wouldn't trust them. That's not something that can be changed just like that. It's just going to take time. It's simple as that. Keep reporting the good stories, people that have put their hands up and asked for help, and look how they've come out the other side. And just keep going, and hopefully over time it will change. In the meantime, there's other organisations outside like yourself like Blue Guardians, like many others that are there to provide either psychology care or counselling or fitness, you know, all the different varieties. There's actually another company, PTSD Resurrected, and they deal with moral injury. So that, again, it's bringing in all those things that you've just mentioned. It's just a shame that there's so many different organizations out there. Wouldn't it be lovely if we were all under the same umbrella, you know? And but more research needs to be done, I think, before we all know exactly what's required. It's going to take time.
And that's the thing, like I get asked sometimes, like, okay, you know, I get calls to speak all over North America, and I get calls sometimes and they're like, okay, but we need can you be accredited for what you do? And I'm like, I can't at this moment, because I'm trying to look into it to figure out how to do that. But it's like, unless you're accredited, but the thing is that the ones that are accredited sometimes don't even have success rates. Like, I'm like, you can look at all the success rates with everybody in my program. Like every single person that pushes and that actually does the lessons in my program is successful. Every single one, 100% success rate with everyone that actually works through the lessons.
It's such a shame if there's a degree course out there, and you could say I've done 4 years and I'm qualified in. Well, that's wonderful, but the reality is, it still doesn't necessarily make the success at the end. This is the success. This is through experience, through your experience, through your life, through your family, through your husband, and you've researched and you've dealt with people, and this works.
It works.
It's lovely. It's amazing. It's really, really good.
Yeah. And as you say too about the mistrust, it's like there is admin stress is one of the biggest stressors that I hear about. And so the first thing that I do always suggest when anybody is having a struggle with any admin stress, or any colleague either, where they are hot-headed, angry all the time, complaining all the time, or disengaged, where they're not pulling their weight, they're seeming like they're lazy, like they're just kind of off in their own world and don't care. Either of those, the first thing I do is I ask, what were they like early in their career? 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago? What were they like? And quite often you'll find they were engaged, really good, positive officer. And that's when I start thinking, okay, now look at their symptoms. How are they sleeping? What's their energy like? What's their digestion like? Are they getting colds and flus? How's their motivation and drive? Do they have brain fog? Like, that's the thing. You might be on for a call, but trying to do the report after is like impossible, right? Trying to do that report, your brain is so foggy that you can't remember the details of the call that just happened. So they may be struggling with their paperwork. And then they're also, one stress as well is, as soon as you move up in the ranks, you're now not in charge of yourself. You're in charge of a team. And so you're responsible for other lives, not just your own. And that is a stress in itself. And you're also answering to those above you. So you're being pulled in two directions. So as soon as you're promoted, that's another stress that when we usually, as soon as I talk to somebody, we go through a chronological order of stressors in their lives: having kids, divorces, marriage, like weddings, buying a house, and then any calls that they've been on that have been tough, any promotions that they've had, public order. I was talking with a gentleman in the States, or in the UK, who the riots in the UK, he had a custody issue. Then he had the riots in the UAE, and he was high up for the public order. So he was doing ridiculous hours during the riots. And then it was in less than a year, they had the Olympics. And we started tracking his symptoms, and when the anger came out and the short fuse came out, and it actually ended up getting him in trouble on the job. And the shame, the pride, because he's like, that's not the person that I am. It's just that hypervigilance going from 0 to 100. So I always check what that person was like first, what they used to be like. They may have been an ass. They may have been, but check first and see what they used to be like. And that'll let you know,
of course,
this is burnout. Maybe this is their body talking. Maybe they need help. And And so digging into that, if we need to fix, this is just my personal thought, we need to fix that first, so that then they can actually be handling other people's problems too. Then they can be helping when somebody comes to them with an issue. They actually have the energy and the power and the knowledge to actually help them without judgment, because there is no judgment on me. Most of the anger and the frustration starts in home with your kids, with your spouse.
Yes.
That was me. My husband could walk in the room and I would just hate him for no reason at all. And he would know by the look on my face, and we stayed clear for that day or till I was okay again.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. And the kids too, just short fuse with them all the time.
Yeah.
So understanding the signs, I think that we first need to be working on helping the upper level management people as well, right? Everybody, but they can't help the people coming to them unless they have the help too.
That's right. Of course.
So there's a lot more to it as well than just nobody cares about me, no one's helping me. It's that I can't say almost everybody, that a majority of every first responder is hiding the feelings inside them, because if they have a nick in their armor, they're worried that they then weren't meant to do this job.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I know I was highly stressed when I was in, and it was just, don't say anything, Fleur, just get on with it. I was miserable, but and that wasn't anybody else's fault. It's just the job, and I loved the job. I loved it, but I was so stressed as well. So the best thing I've done now is leave, and now I'm doing this. I'm on the other side and I'm loving every second of it, and I'm not stressed by it. So different. And not that I'd advocate for everybody to leave, because that's not going to help either. But it's interesting to see now and to realize how much help there is out there. It's been able to find it and making sure that everybody can have access to it, and everybody is educated. Wouldn't it be great if when they joined up at the academies, the police training, that people were trained, and their families trained to understand the signs, to take care of themselves, to know that sometimes it's okay. It's like going to the dentist. If you need to go and have a chat with the counsellor or the psych, if you need to reassess your diet, your fitness, whatever it is, we kind of all talk about that over here, but we don't necessarily take those steps.
And it is hard, like when you go into this to help everybody else, that it takes a step too, to understand that you have to be whole in order to help others. And also too, these symptoms, people don't know about them. They creep over the years, over time. I mean, 20 years in between my two burnouts. 20. I was a specialist in that until I stopped advocating. Like, it's not even that people aren't trying quite often. It's that they've tried and haven't got answers, and have been pretty much made to feel like it was in their head. And then
suck it up, get on with it.
You do, right? So it's a lot of, there's so many layers that need to be fixed and need to be helped in this. Absolutely.
So it's interesting. The more people I'm linking up with now, it's really interesting and so good to link all these bits together. We have the mental health side, definitely, and there's some wonderful people in that space. That's amazing. We have some fitness, get to the gym and make sure that everybody can do that side. That's great too, of course it is. We now have moral injury. Wow, PTSD Resurrected in this country, they seem amazing, and I'm going to be having more chats with those too, and hopefully there'll be more people coming on board too. Making sure that and then we have you again, another twist on it, and it's amazing. And I've found out, and I've been trained myself in another way to deal with PTSD, and a psychologist is so valuable, but it's not the only way. And it doesn't solve everything anyway. you know, and it's not so there's no negative in any of these options, but it's finding the right way and the right course of action for you, because we're all human, therefore we're all individual, and we all have, you know, different experiences, different wants, different needs. Got to find the right one for you.
Yeah. I also think of it like a puzzle too, but let's just think about police tactical training, right?
Yep.
You don't just do firearms training. You don't just do tactical training. You do crisis negotiation training. You do, like, there's so many different blocks of training that you guys have to do to fit into your job, right? There's like, you guys have to be mental health people. You guys have to be like, physically taking down. You guys have to be like
marriage counselors.
Right? So the thing is you can't
everything.
expect the solution to just be one thing, right? So the thing is just being open to, let's try it all. Let's see what it all is. I do believe that there is a bit of an order in making sure your stress system is strong first, so that you can.
Yeah. That's common sense.
Yeah.
That sounds so good, and I'm so glad you've mentioned that today. I've just started working with another organisation, and again, they're really from the ground up. So we'll help the veterans that are homeless, that have nowhere to go. Well, you're not going to help them by putting them on a boot camp to get fit, or to go and see your psychologist, if they don't have a home and they don't have money coming in, and you know that they're not safe and secure. Yeah. So it's like you say, there's certain steps, and they've got to be in an order to make sure that you're going to be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing too, is I find that there's an order in what I do. Like I had a coaching call last night, and there's a gentleman that really wants to be working on his gut issues, and I get that, but there's other things we need to do first that are precipitating the gut issues, because if we don't do that, whatever we do for the gut will not fully fix. So there's orders to do things even when you're just taking what I do, and the whole body, and as far as stress goes.
So talk me through. Is it one-on-one you do this, or you do this in groups?
Nope.
Or
no, it's in group. I do offer one-on-ones, which tends to be more higher level PTSD people, where we really need to work one-on-one to give them really good tools quickly in their toolbox to be able to get that stress out. So I have it all designed. I don't believe that there's a pause button. You need to know how to pull tools out, how to do all of these things in the worst of the worst.
Yep.
Right? So the thing is with a lot of things is we do it when you're off, you do it when you're on vacation, or you do it when things calm down, or when the kids get older, right? There's always a pause. So I've made it so that pretty much it's like a quick lesson they read in 10-15 minutes a day on the toilet. It's 3 to 5 times a week. The guys, honestly, a lot of the guys just read it in the bathroom in the morning, and then they're done. And then it just keeps adding up, and they keep getting their toolbox filled. So there's, it's all designed so that they can actually do that. And then it's in a group. And the thing that they're finding in a group, because some of them are hesitant in the beginning about doing a group, but they're coming in and they're realizing, holy crap, I'm not the only one experiencing this.
I know.
And the thing is, we do these group coaching calls where people will ask questions. And so one person asks a question that somebody didn't think of, or they ask a question that somebody is at that lesson the next week, and they're like, oh, I already know how to answer that, or I'm already there with that. So they're finding that it's actually more beneficial when we do work in a group. And we've made it as well so that, like, when you're with one-on-one, it's like every 6 weeks. So you have to save up all your questions, and you might be having a crap day in the middle, but by the time you get to your appointment, of course, you're having a good day. So being in a group, we've made it that doesn't matter 24 hours a day. We have a forum where they can actually ask questions, and then the next day I go and answer them all for everybody. So they get their answers right away when they're in the middle of their crap, and in the middle of the question, in the middle of struggling, so that they don't have to wait. So it's group. That's the long-winded answer to answer your group.
Okay. But, and like a 12-week program, or what?
Over 9 months.
Oh, okay, 9 months. Yeah.
Yeah. You think of how long it took your stress system to get.
Oh, geez, yes, absolutely.
It takes us a while to get your stress system, and the fact is,
I was just thinking 12 weeks. That's really good.
No.
Okay.
It's over 9 months. So, but it does take but we go slow. so that it's manageable around family, around chaos, around everything. It's
Yes.
it's so that you can do it while you're sitting on the
You
toilet.
go slow, little chunks, but you can start it right now. You don't have to take 2 weeks off work to do it. You do it now.
And the thing, so it's broken into three parts. And the first part is where I kind of describe it like a battery of a car. So the battery of your car, it dies, right? It's drained. You put those booster cables on, you boost it, the car can run again, totally fine, right? And so that's what we do in the first part. So you actually start getting your energy, getting the thing up. Problem is, what happens if you don't fix the root of the cause that actually drained the battery in the first place, right?
That's right, yeah.
The battery just drains again. So they do start getting relief in the beginning, and that is through hormones. So your stress management system is controlled of 50 hormone responses, as I said. It's your brain, your pineal gland, and then above your kidneys is your adrenals. So the size of a grape in the shape of a walnut. So sometimes when you're stressed, you may have low back pain. That's your adrenals saying like, hey, need a little bit of relief right now.
Wow.
So they manage.
Interesting.
50 hormone responses. And the thing is that you prominently have your cortisol, which is your stress, and your waking energy hormone. It's the same thing. And then you have your sleep hormone. We're just going to talk about these two right now. But when you're on rotating shift schedules all the time, it doesn't know when to kick in, when to shut off, when to do anything. Then you add in the fact that you're always pushing a stressed state. So you always have that stress hormone floating around in your body. When you're tired and wired, that is the frontal lobe of your brain where you have extra cortisol floating around. That's what it is. So there's ways to start changing it. There's things that we do in the beginning to get those hormones aligned, get them working properly, support that energy and cortisol hormones. And the thing is that once your melatonin, your sleep hormone, actually kicks in naturally, when it kicks in on its own naturally, it starts a whole cascade of the other hormones while you're sleeping to heal. So they start healing things. They make sure all of your organs are working the way that they can. Your brain functions, so that short-term memory where a lot of people start losing that short-term memory, all of that. So your cognitive thinking gets repaired. You take in things, your immune system boosts itself. All of these functions, they all are a cascade while you're sleeping. So the shift work itself starts throwing off all of these. So the first thing to do is to boost those hormones and get them running. So I kind of describe that as well. So the way that the hormones run as well, it's not an easy fix. You might, your doctor might go and say, hey, let's just do a blood test for this. Let's test your cortisol or your testosterone for a blood test. Now, the problem with that is that your stress hormones kind of run like a mountain. So the top of the mountain is pregnenolone, and it splits and does 2 jobs and changes names, and it splits and does 4 and splits and does 8. So it just keeps splitting and doing different jobs as it's going along, and you've got these 50 different responses happening in that. So imagine it's a mountain, and that's actually water flowing down the mountain. Now let's imagine that a rock slide happens. So now all of that water is going to flow down the one way. It's not going down the other way. So when we're testing at the bottom, the very bottom, your cortisol and your testosterone splits at the very bottom, let's just say that you're testing the cortisol or the testosterone with those blood tests, and it shows as super low. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that cortisol, that it's flowing right and it's just not getting a lot there, producing it. It could mean that there's a rock slide up here and it's all going the other direction. And because it's going the other direction too, it could be messing up even more and making you angrier and making you like more brain fog, because it's actually giving you too much of something on the one side. So pumping yourself up now, if a doctor or your endocrinologist or something just starts giving you synthetic cortisol or testosterone, I know some guys have testosterone injections. What happens is, let's say the rock slide's not moved, So that's going from the top, it's coming down, and it just starts adding more and more the other direction, and you're still not getting any because the rock slide has stopped it from flowing to the cortisol and testosterone.
Yeah.
So you get in where doctors will do these blood tests, or endocrinologists will start giving you synthetic things, thinking that, hey, you're showing that you don't have this, but what you need to do is really make sure that that whole hormonal pathway is moving the way that it is, so that then the next step is that we start teaching you how on a night or how on any shift that you're doing when it's time to go to sleep, what you can do to give a signal to your stress energy hormone that it's time to shut down, time to clear that brain of hormones, and get that melatonin, that sleep hormone, coming in naturally. So there's cues that we give based on any shift schedule that you can start doing that in your body. And then what do you do when you're awake in order to tell your body that that is the time that your cortisol, energy, stress wakening hormone is supposed to be at its highest? So when you wake up feeling hungover, even though you haven't drank, you're absolutely exhausted, have to push through, you need a pot of coffee or an IV of caffeine to get yourself going, that is that cortisol is totally dropped.
Yes.
So that first phase is really making sure that the hormones are flowing the way that they need to, that they're in check. So it's pretty much like putting juice in that battery, the booster cables in that battery, and getting that flowing first, which takes that edge off. You get a little more energy. You can start sleeping.
What's the common thing you find with people? The people that, so the first responders that come to you and say, yeah, Andy, I'm not right, I'm not sleeping, I'm not, whatever it is, I've got no energy. Going through this course, what are the most common things that come out that you notice that either they're doing or that things they shouldn't be doing, or just common threads with everybody?
Things that they're trying before the program?
Well,
so I actually did a question about what do you do to fall asleep, or what do you do to relax before sleep last week in my group. And what was it? One of the best answers was, I think, sex, bourbon, and then 80s sitcoms. And it's in that order. I asked him, he said it's actually in that order. Quite often there's the sleeping pills and the alcohol is one. And the thing that's very, very interesting to know is alcohol. Okay, so this gets into hormones as well. Is what happens with social media, with social media and with alcohol. You'll find that a lot of officers might get to the point, or responders get to the point where they can't get off social media. They can't stop it. They can't just turn it off. They need to be commenting on everything. Same with the alcohol. They just need that. So the thing is,
it is addictive. It's like addictive. Even I must admit, I have to be very restrictive on, because I use Facebook a lot for my job, and that's great. That's wonderful. The amount you can get out of it, that's fantastic. However, the amount of hours you can spend on there, literally really producing no work, nothing of value, and gaining nothing back, purely then just rubbish, filling your head with rubbish. So you've got to be very disciplined.
Well, the thing is understanding what's happening as well. So you have a hormone as well called dopamine. So dopamine is kind of like, let's just say, a dog with dog treats, right? It's pretty much training your body to do a habit. So dopamine used to be thought that it is your feel-good hormone, but what they've realized is it's actually a teaching hormone. So what it does is, it's like a dog. So at first with a dog, you start giving them treats and they like them. And then you give them a command before you give them the treat. And it gets to the point with a dog where you could just be walking anywhere into the room where that cookie jar is, or the treat jar, and that dog is like, whoa, I need this. And it goes there, right? And that is what you use to train dogs' habits. But that's the same thing that happens with alcohol. It's the same thing that happens with Facebook. Every single time that you're scrolling through and you like a post, or somebody comments, or you comment, but then somebody comments on yours, it gives you a dopamine hit. So it's actually training your body that this habit is a good habit.
It's good. That's right.
And
Yes.
alcohol does the same thing, because it starts to alcohol signals that dopamine. So there's one of those things where when you start getting that flow of hormones being off as well, and alcohol starts coming into play, then the dopamine is kicking in more on them, and it also then stresses their body out more. It pushes their adrenals more and stresses them out. And then they want the dopamine hit more for the feel good. And it just becomes this whole vicious cycle. So there's a lot of substance abuse with burnout, with what I do, not even with PTSD. So this is actually a physical stress thing that we find that a lot of majority of them get to the point where they either are only having an occasional social drink, or they even stop drinking altogether, because they realized how much it was hitting their stress system. Everything's a choice. It's always your choice.
Of course it is. It's really good that some people, and not everybody can do this, but it's really good that some people have that great self-awareness, and therefore can be more controlled and more disciplined with it, because they understand, they get it.
Well, the thing is that once your hormones start aligning and you're a little bit calmer and you're able to relax, you can start seeing patterns and you can start changing them and fixing them. When your hormones are this mess, you can't. Like, it is. It's just, it's really hard to get off of those patterns and do them. And that's why I say too, like in therapy and everything, if we strengthen that first, get those hormones aligned first, then they can make headway in the therapy and their PTSD treatments and all of that, right?
Do you know what? I don't think anybody can remedy their issue just with one thing alone. You know, you can just fix your diet, or you could just see PTSD psychologist. You could just do one of these things, but ultimately it's the whole holistic approach. It's everything. It's got to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And so we get with that with the hormones. So we boost it, we get it. So once we start doing that, honestly, in 10 days, they start feeling the difference.
Wow.
But that is where, as I said, with the success of the program, some people say, okay, I'm good, I'm out, and they leave. And I'm like, no, because we haven't fixed the other parts in the engine, right? So that's where we need to go through the other steps. And so we start digging into the nervous system. So you have two branches of your nervous system that we'll be talking about, one that switches you into a stress response and one that switches you into a resting response.
Yeah.
So the stress response is the one that gets you into that tunnel vision state, because when you are needing to really be focused on the task at hand, the crisis, what's happening, you need to be in that. Like there's a reason why your body does this. It pushes blood out of your organs and moves it into your extremities. It gets you into a heightened sense. You become hyper aware, the hyper vigilance. Like you can go from 0 to 100 if you need to be sprinting to save your life, if you need to do whatever it is. The thing is that these are like a muscle. So the more that you work them, the stronger they get, the quicker they are to react. So if you're working that from the time you're on your way to work for your whole 12, 24-hour shift, 48-hour shift, depending on what's going on, then that becomes so strong, it starts overpowering the other one.
So how do you train or help people to turn that off, to be able to rest again?
Okay, so there's different strategy. Like over the 9 months, we work on basic, intermediate, and advanced. So the first thing that we do teach, there's two things. And the one that you can do in every situation, every scenario, is breathe through your nose. So your vagus nerve on your left sinus cavity up here, it actually touches your vagus nerve. So that touch stimulates it. And then going through into your diaphragm. So your vagus nerve runs throughout your whole body. Same with the other nerves, your sympathetic nervous system, the stress nerve, so that they could turn on and turn off everything. So your diaphragm is covered in vagus nerve, covered in it. The thing with it is they're unmyelinated. So think of a wire that doesn't have a rubber coating.
Oh,
That
yeah.
wire is really sensitive.
Yeah.
That is the same. These are all unmyelinated nerves
Okay.
that
Yeah.
surround your diaphragm. So if you fill that belly up, you're actually stimulating those nerves, and then you let it go and you breathe out through your nose. You're stimulating your vagus nerve twice. So like my husband, it's funny, he was a coach officer before he switched to his position that he's in now. And the one guy who was like, oh my God, like I'd get to the call and non-priority call. And he'd be like, he would sit there and he'd breathe before he'd open his door. And before he'd knock on the person's door, he'd take another deep breath. He goes, he's always so calm. Whereas he was like, you know, rookie, getting out of the car, running, ready to like plow there. And it's like, no.
Commando rolling to the front door.
Right. And in the middle of any trauma, you really,
Yeah.
most every trauma. And the thing is you're taught this as well in firearms training as well for snipers and stuff,
Yes.
is to
Yeah.
get breathing down, because
Yes.
when you're in
True.
stress state, you're in a tunnel vision. And when your breathing
True.
is down, you get into that wide picture thinking where you can actually see
Yes.
everything going on around you. So that is something that we do in training, and we work on that alone for the first few months, because
valuable, very good.
Base foundation. Then we start working on advanced breathing protocols. There's actually some to really work to get your cardio carbon dioxide output out. And there's really cool tricks and things that you can be doing. There's all kinds of different things. Snoring, sleep apnea. There's a branch of the vagus nerve that comes down to your neck, and as you're sleeping, it actually relaxes if you are in your stress state, which is where your tongue relaxes and you start snoring, and the sleep apnea and everything starts appearing here. You'll see how many guys, first responders, have CPAP machines. The fire halls are filled with them, and they're all sleeping together. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So snoring, sleep apnea, another symptom. If you start snoring, you know that you're switching into your stress system. So that's the one thing that we teach them. The other thing is water.
Yeah.
So your nervous system, your vagus nerve as well, shuts down your digestion, which is why a lot of digestive issues come. So it stops the motility of the poop moving through your colon, so you get constipated. Then you can also get diarrhea. It stops the gastric juices, the enzymes from being able to break down your food. So you start getting a lot of stomach acid issues, you get indigestion, you get bacteria overgrowths, you get all kinds of things, leaky gut, like all kinds of things can be happening because your vagus nerve is not kicking in while you're sleeping. It's not kicking in when you're around your family, when you're relaxing, when you're even not on calls. And so
there's so many light bulbs going off in all of this.
Yeah. So
there's just so many light bulbs. All the things you're mentioning, I'm thinking, I know so many people with that. And I so many people with that. And my husband snores and other issues. I'm like, oh, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the gut, it's fascinating. So if you drink 500 milliliters of water, it puts something quickly into your digestive system, and your vagus nerve is like, hey, you're eating or drinking. So something's going in. That means you're not being chased by a lion. That means there's not a stress right now. I can switch on. We can switch out of that stress system. So those are the two things. So that's the other thing my husband does too, is he has 2 or 3 water bottles with them when he's on the road. And he fills them whenever he's around. So if he just has even if one bottle is partially done, he will fill it, because you never know when you're going to get somewhere where you can't move for 8 hours.
Yes.
So he's always filling them, always making sure that he's got them there. And as soon as his call is over, he goes back to his car and chugs. He'll breathe and chug, and it gets you right out of that system.
So since you've been doing this, and obviously you've been making up pack-ups for your husband and doing all these things, how has he changed? How much has he noticed the difference in himself in taking on some of the things, eating differently, drinking, and taking on the skills that you've been able to inform him about?
My husband's a really humble person, so he doesn't talk about himself a lot. I notice a difference. He's a lot calmer with the kids. Like it used to be, so here the shifts just changed, but they used to be 7 day shifts, 5 off, 7 evening shifts, 5 off, 7 night shifts, 5 off. And at the end of his 7 shifts, he'd be getting shorter with the kids. He'd be getting, you know, and then when he'd go on his block of days off, he'd be like a whirling dervish. He'd be like trying to do 50 million errands, trying to get everything done, and nothing would get done. It would take him an hour to do something that would usually take 10 minutes because he just couldn't focus. You're in that hypervigilance. You can't see the full picture. There's so many factors involved in you not being able to just think and do it, the brain fog, all of those things. And so now he actually takes his first day to actually rest and recover if he knows he needs to. If he doesn't, then he is realistic about how many things he tries to do. He gets them done faster. He still has time for himself. He has time for the kids. There's been a huge shift in him as well. And yeah, I know for me, like I'm so much calmer around my kids than I used to be and all of that too. So it's just, it's really, it's just.
Does he promote you to all his colleagues?
Sometimes yes, it depends. He tries not to talk because it's one of those things too where you don't want to preach, right?
Yes.
He also understands as well. There's something that I go into about teaching about how to talk to your colleagues about this, because there's 4 layers of people's awareness. This happens for everything. This happens with your kids. This happens with spouses, kids. It happens on calls that you're on with everybody. It happens like for EMS, you'll totally notice this too with people, is their level of awareness. Is so there's the desire of what they want, right? So I want to sleep. Yes. I want oh man, I just wish I could poop, you know? Or oh, I just wish that this indigestion, I just wish I could get rid of this indigestion, right? There's just that. They rarely say, I wish I could not be angry at my kids, even though they're saying that in their mind. So it's these things that you wish. There's that desire level, but you don't know what the problem is yet. And then you start realizing what the problem is, which is, as we're talking about, hormones, nervous system, and gut, right? So once they start understanding that, then they start looking into solutions. So some of them may have as well looked into solutions as far as sleeping pills go, or anti-anxiety, I call them the anti-meds, anti-anxiety, antidepressants. But they don't fully understand yet the problem. So they actually sometimes that solution before they've understood what the problem is. And then the last one is what I call the buy-in. Right? Of actually understanding, of buying into whatever solution that they want to do, whether it is, right? Whether it is therapy, whether it is what I do, whatever it is, right? Working out, meditation, whatever their buy-in is. So they have to go through these stages. So if my husband was to sit there and say, hey, my wife helps these people, helps first responders, and somebody could go, well, I don't have that problem. That's not my problem. Of course. Because they don't even know what the problem aware is, right? Mm-hmm. So it's really understanding what order to be talking. So if you do have a partner that you're working with and they're complaining about certain things, you can go, hey, I saw this really good article on, stress and how the nervous system can actually be messing up your gut to cause that indigestion. So you start teaching them the problem.
Yeah. Wonderful.
So he's pretty astute into that too, because we do it with our kids on everything. It's like, that's how we solve problems with our kids, is we work them through those 4 things as well before they buy into what we want them to buy into, and stuff. But it's the same. Think of dating.
Sneaky.
Too. But like dating, you'll be talking with your child and the solution, but they're still at what they want and a desire. They don't even understand what the problem is yet. So if you talk to your child at the solution level, they're like, well, that's not my problem. Right? So it's all through those things as well. So we go into how to talk to your colleagues, how to work those things, crucial conversations, and all of that as well. We work into so that they can help others. Because my whole thing is all of this compounds. I help one, you go and help your department. You go and help your team. You go and help them, right? They want to come to see me, great, but give them as many tools as they're willing to have, but you can't preach. It's got
Yes,
to be
true.
working them
Yes.
in these areas. It has to be at a level that they're aware of.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So can't remember where that actually stemmed from,
You'd
but
run, so it's, it's 9 months from the beginning to the end. And it's a group of people, a group of how many?
At the moment, there are, I think, 45 there's 45 that are active in the group. I do have privates as well that I work on separate that didn't even want to do group. And then I do have some that are doing the program themselves on their own and have not joined the group. They haven't made that yet. So there's different stages, but actually in the physical group, there's about 45, I think. Yeah, at the moment.
It's good to have those different options. Like we said, everyone's individual and, you know, whatever works for them, really. And how many groups do you have running at once? Is it just one? I mean, if you've got the other things on as well, it must be. Yeah, it must be full on anyway. So
yeah, it's so that they can all have the support. So there's myself in it. Then I also brought in somebody that is more of a hormones guru, because that's not my training. My training is more the vagus nerve training, the getting to the gut, getting into the body, all of the, you know, the training, figuring that all out. And the nutrition aspect, but then she's also a holistic nutritionist as well. So she into the gut. So I can help with gut issues to a point, but once they start getting into like SIBO and stuff, then she does all their protocols and stuff for them. So we've been able to work it so that they don't have to go to different outlets to get all of the physical taken care of. It's all in the one program.
And what countries? Do you do this all over the place? You know, can anybody join?
Absolutely. Anybody, anywhere can join. And that's the thing, is that we've made it to work around all shift schedules. So it really works with anything. And I have UK and North America is where everybody is at the moment. I do have some, haven't done a lot of advertising actually in Australia. I did it briefly. I think that's when I met you. I did it for like 3 or 4 weeks at one point, and I do have some Australians in that I am talking to, and they ask a lot of questions, and they may join the program, but so far I don't have an Aussie in the program, which would be cool. It'd be a different accent.
Well, we're advertising you now. Is it specifically for first responders, or is it just for shift workers? Is it for who do you want to help?
Well, I have it. The way that all the lessons and everything talk is all of the examples are first responder examples. So everything is based around shift work, but specific. I do every once in a while have like oil workers and stuff that are other shift workers that do try to come in. I really keep it to first responders, because the things that we talk about, the stuff that happens on the job is very specific, especially with what's going on right now. Like, people don't get the fact that not all cops are bad at this moment. And so us having a space that's safe for us to all be really talking about this in a positive way that actually gives them skills. Like, I spent yesterday a while with a gentleman whose school was sent a book about how cops are allowed to shoot Black men and don't get charged for it. And so we actually went through, as I said, crucial conversations, figuring out what level they were at. And then we went through crucial conversations and I bring it into their crisis management training and all that stuff, to be able to bring them to the point of understanding what that message is sending out, where it's going, and how to actually talk to them and take the emotion out. So we're able to have those conversations that people in another world don't necessarily know. Military, absolutely welcome in. Absolutely, because as long as they are okay to understand that we're still talking shift work and all of that. If they're active duty, they'll get it. If they're not active duty, like, I have retired officers, because if your stress system is a mess, your sleep usually doesn't go on track. Your digestive system doesn't just heal itself when you're done.
Oh, yes.
We have retired officers as well. So it really is kept towards that.
Okay.
It's a safe space for everyone. So military, I As long as they're pro-police, I am absolutely, they're welcome in with open arms, because the stressors that they are experiencing and that are the same in a sense.
Could I ask you to send me, just be cheeky, to send me some information on top of what you provide on your website, just information on the course that you run,
Okay.
so that I can actually advertise and say, look, we've got this, you know, amazing lady, this is what she does. It just seems to tick so many boxes. There's so many people I know that you could help. How is the course funded? I'll have to ask. What people will be asking, but how much does it cost? So what is the cost of this?
Okay, so we do offer monthly payments. It's paid for by the officers. There are the odd time that they actually have a wellness budget that will pay for it. So I would always get them to ask if that is possible. And that's another reason too why I am digging into trying to figure out how I can get in to get some like education credits, because if so, then they'll be able to write that off. So I'm working on that aspect of it. So the program is, we have a couple of different options based on if you want just the program itself with no support whatsoever. If you want the group program with all the coaching and all of the support, or you do want privates. So there's different price points.
Okay.
So it ranges from $700 US, which is still less than $100 a month for a 9-month program, right? So
yes, yeah,
it's
yeah.
And then the group at the moment, I've made changes, and I've been adding in another coach that is adding in a lot more support and stuff. So at the moment, the price for the group is $1,497 US.
Okay.
I mean,
US dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they get their sleep. I have a Canadian dollar option as well. So if I don't know if anybody wants to do Canadian or US dollars, it's there's the options. And I split the payments. It's divided into 3 or 6 months. Yeah. So there's total splits.
Brilliant.
No extra for
okay.
that. And then the privates are $2,999. But I mean, we also think about in it, they're getting their life back. They get their families back. They get their stress systems back. They get their career back. They get the person that they were back for $1,500.
This is the thing. I have to. I was talking to an ex RAF veteran, a veteran ex RAF today, and talking about all the things that he saw. He was a RAF medic, and he dealt with all the people coming back from Afghan, straight on the firing line after being blown up by bombs, by all sorts, you know, legs and arms missing, and the things he dealt with and saw were horrific on a daily basis, many years, several years. And there was a point to this, hang on. Yeah, and he's doing great, but understandably the people he has seen and dealt with at times, there was a big difference. The ones that decided, more often the ones that were injured worse, the ones with really severe injuries and life-changing things to their body, to the mental health issue, all sorts, seem to get up and be determined to say, well, sod this, I'm going to do this, you know. And the ones, and this is kind of a big blanket statement. I'm certainly not everybody at all, but then there were others that were just so scared, too scared to stand up again, too scared to have a go. And I see that a lot as well with the veterans and the first responders that I speak to. There's some that'll say, I'm determined to get better. I'm determined to fight this, to challenge this, to have a life. I'm determined to fight for my life. And then there's others that are just like, I'm too scared. I'm just, you know, why would I bother? This is me now. This is it. how can we help with that? How can we get the message across to say, you know what, you've got so much to live for, and we are here to help you?
That's a loaded question, because it really,
Sorry.
That's okay.
There's,
no, but
there is so much help. I know there is here, and I can see it coming from you as well. And I just think, crikey, if you just give us a chance, you know, give something a chance. Anybody, give somebody somewhere with a skill a chance. They can support you, and you know, you can fly again. You can. I can see these people and have so much going for them.
Yeah.
If they were only brave enough to hope. I think part of it is not being too scared to hope that things will get better.
Yeah. So there's different layers to this. One is, I've been coaching for over 25 years. And the one thing I have learned is I can only help those who want to put the work in and are ready to put the work.
Absolutely.
That took me a long time to, because I want to say,
you can't persuade people, you can't rescue people. They've got to have got to that point themselves.
They do. So that being said, though, anyone and everyone is welcome into my program. Is welcome into, like, I have a free Facebook group. I think there's 3,200 people in it right now. Maybe,
wow, yeah,
maybe 3,000. I'm not sure, but anybody's welcome in that, and then that builds a community, right? So they start seeing that sense of community. In that community, I try to move them through those 4 stages. I try. Depending on where they're at. There are people that I have, like, physically for like a year worked with to be like, okay, I will help you. Like, they have gotten on medical leave, and like there's a gentleman right now where I let him into my program for free because I knew like, I'm like, okay, I can help you. I know you're on medical leave. I know what's going on with you. I'm like, I let him in for free, which I do know that letting people in for free, quite often, there's not that incentive then to actually put the work in. And as I said before,
it's a hard one. That's a really hard one, because you want to help so much, but then they don't see the value in it. It's like, they're not committed then.
Yeah. So he was on medical leave. He was struggling with his therapies. We got him where he was boosted, and he got back, like, and as I said, it boosts your battery, you feel good again. And he stopped doing the program. And he ended up getting back on the job. And then he's messaged me back recently again. And I see he's scrolling again on Facebook again, needing to comment on everything. I see he's in that cycle again. And he told me, he's like, I'm back where I was. He goes, I'm starting to pick up old habits again. I'm starting to, I'm starting to get back into those old habits. I need back in the program. I need to change. I'm like, absolutely. Here's my link. Book it. Book a call with me. Let's have a chat. Let's get you back in. I'm like, and a week goes by. He doesn't message again. And this is saying too, that for the last 5 months, I've actually been emailing him once a month to say, how you doing? What's going on? Where are you? So I've with him as well. And so finally at the end of this week, I just messaged him and I said, look, I am here to help. You know that it works. You've asked for my help. It takes 30 seconds to book the call. 30 seconds. That's all I'm asking. And I said, if you don't book it by the end of this week, you're still more than welcome in my program, but I'm going to have to charge you full fee. And this is the fee. And he messaged me back and he's like, thank you. I understand it. I understand this. But he says, I have too much going on this week. But I've also seen him on Facebook having conversations back and forth with people, which would have taken less to have a conversation with me. So this is the thing, is that he has access to it. He knows it works. He's asked for my help and he still won't put that step forward. So I have to put my focus on those who are putting their hand up and asking for my help, because there are thousands and thousands and thousands of them. And that's where I need to put my focus. When I started this as well, my goal was to help my husband's service. And I was speaking at a national public order conference. And the public order team for my husband's service wanted me to come and speak. They wanted me to help with doing some of their annual training. And I wasn't allowed because I wasn't a part of their wellness program. And because I was, it was a conflict of interest because my husband worked for the service. And he's like, but she's speaking at a national public order conference. She's speaking at a national one. She's on stage with people from France and Germany. And they're like, yeah, it's conflict of interest, and she's it's against our wellness program. And I had to let it go. I tried. I had conversations with their chief. I had conversations with the deputy chief. I had conversations, and eventually I was like, you know what? I have to let this go, because there are 3,000 people in my Facebook group that have their hands up saying that they want some help. I have to help the people that are wanting the help. And that is where I'm putting all of my energy and focus. So the thing is that I give a lot of tools, I give a lot of free resources, and there are some people that take those and run with them, and they're amazing. And there's other people that I can give all the tools and all the resources, and they don't. And if I put all of my energy into them, then I'm not putting my energy into the people that are really putting the effort in and wanting to ask for help. And that is hard for me to do because I want to save everyone. Yeah. But I can't save everyone. So I need to put my energy in those that are wanting to put in the work to be saved. I don't know. Does that answer that question?
Do you, on that line as well then, do you work or have a referral system to other people as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. I never let anybody into my program before. We do two things on a call. First is to just find out if you are a candidate for results in my program. You may be somebody who needs more. If depending on like I said as well, that the gentleman that passed away with my husband, I don't feel that my program would have been enough for him or fast enough for him to get what he needed.
Yeah. Okay.
So him, I most likely would have referred to actually the coach that's in my program. I would have referred one-on-one to her to just go and do that.
Yeah.
And then once they were done that, then come back and teach the skills to not get back there again. There's other people as well that I get on conversations with, and I'm thinking like, okay, therapy is what you need first before you will be able to mentally handle this program.
Yeah. Right? Okay.
So there's different things. So I have, so first we figure out if you're a candidate for results, because I'm not going to let you in and on this if there are other avenues and other things that would be better suited for you. I have lists in the unit section of my group. I have lists all over. I have some, I'm not sure if I have a lot of Australian there. I have UK and North America, all kinds of retreats and groups and podcasts and books and trainings and all kinds of things, resources that they can have. There's some people on it too that I'm like, I don't even think you need my program yet. You just need some of my free trainings. Here you go. Right? So I'm going to be honest. And the other thing we do is we interview each other, or as with the cops, we interrogate one another. The questions that I'm asked sometimes, I'm like, took a while for me to get used to my interrogation. It is, right? It's so funny, but I'm like, Kate, interrogate me. Ask me anything you want, because if you don't work well with me,
it's not gonna
work. And if I don't work well with you, so we interview one another as well before I let
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it has to work for both of us. And if I'm on there and I'm thinking, you know what, I don't think that you're going to work well with me in my program, but then we'll find something. So we create an action plan on that call.
Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. So either way, there's help, there's guidance, there's support, no matter what.
Yeah.
And if your program isn't the appropriate one or the suitable one, or you don't connect, whatever, there are other options out there.
Absolutely.
So there's no ego in there.
My goal,
there's just them, helping them.
My goal is to make sure,
I love it.
My goal is to make sure that they come home safe and that they have all the tools to keep their brain and their body functioning at its strongest, to come home safe to their families and have the energy to be there with their families. If it's through me, great. If it's not, I don't care, because that is my goal. Like, that is the ultimate goal, is them. And that's why I'm doing this.
Andy, thank you so much. Thank you. You said, you've just mirrored what I have to try and get this over to people and say, it's not the ego. I don't care if anybody wants to see me. If I'm not suitable, then I tell you what, Andy can help you, or whoever can. I mean, that's the point. If it's the selfish part of doing this in this space for me is the buzz I get when somebody says, wow, I feel so much better now because of whatever it was, whether I said something, whether I referred them, whether somebody else has helped them, whatever it is, they're better for it. I'm like, that's the selfish thing for me. That for me does it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Absolutely. So let's just keep helping them and that's my thing. I need to help one, and that will compound, and they will help more.
Yes.
That's it. One at a time.
So if anybody, and I'll talk to you more about this as well, I'll make sure that obviously I put all of your links up on my page with this video as well. If anybody watching Blue Guardians right now sees this and thinks, that's all right, quite like Andy, she's way nicer than Fleur, whatever. What's the best way for them to contact you for a bit of information to go from there?
The best thing would probably be to go to my website, which is 911lifestyle.com.
Yep.
On my website in the top, you'll get my Facebook page. You'll get my YouTube, where every time I do trainings or videos, interviews, the PTSD moral injury, compassion fatigue one is in there. The interview I did this week with Andy from the UK, who helps first responders transition into civilian role.
Yes, fantastic. Yes.
So everything is, you can go in and you can get all of the links from my 911 lifestyle page. So you can watch the YouTube videos, you can join my Facebook group, answer the questions. I don't want people in if they don't answer questions.
Interrogation. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. But I need to make sure that you actually want to be in the group as well. Right. Like it's always a give and take. I need to make sure you want this, and then I will put everything into it to help you, like everything. So yeah. 911lifestyle.com would probably be the best.
So there's so much free value already. So regardless of whether anybody needs to go further with this, or whether they're just seeing what's out there, or whether they've got concerns about a loved one, literally to check out your page and your Facebook posts as well, and YouTube is a really good place to start.
Yeah. And my Facebook group in the unit section, I do a lot of free trainings, a lot of them. Family guilt, on like your physical stress system, on sleep, on all kinds of things. So there's tons of free trainings if you just go to the unit section in my free Facebook group as well.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Andy. I will let you go. I've taken up so much of your time. We will talk again soon if you're up for that.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Yay. And as soon as I will post this up, and I'll make sure I have all the links up here so that people can contact you directly if they need to, if they want to. I hope they do.
Yes, absolutely. We're here to help. I mean, we all need to just work together at this. We're stronger when we work together.
We are. I keep telling people this. Why does nobody listen to me? Why?
I am.
Maybe they'll listen to you.
Both of us. We are stronger. We'll do it together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time, Andy, and we will talk to you again soon.
My pleasure.